Welcome back. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. All eyes are on what could define the next global flashpoint. US President Donald Trump is signaling confidence, even certainty that the Iran conflict is close to closure. But what's raising eyebrows is that what he said next. Trump has indicated that once Iran is dealt with, the focus could shift to Cuba, calling it next in line and suggesting a deal could be on the horizon. At the same time, he's warning against stretching too thin, making it clear the priority is to finish the war first. Let's listen.
No, but I was watching this and I'm hearing them saying, could he be losing the MAGA base? I don't think so. You know why? Because MAGA wants to win, number one. Number two, they want our country protected. They don't want another country out there that's hostile and crazy to have a nuclear weapon. And number three, they like us protecting certain allies, whether it's Israel or Saudi Arabia or Qatar or UAE, any of them. They want that. MAGA wants strength and they want victory. They want success. And that's what we have. And we have been very, very successful. You know, when I went into Venezuela, I said, because I campaigned on the fact peace through strength, you wouldn't have to.
Backing that timeline is Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who insists this will not be a prolonged conflict. Rubio says the war will end in weeks, not months, and has firmly ruled out any ground invasion. According to him, the U.S. strategy is calibrated, targeting capabilities, not territory, aiming for a decisive outcome without boots on the ground. In fact, let's listen in.
This is not going to be a prolonged conflict. The objectives I've outlined to you, again, I repeat them, because I see these reports as like the U.S. is not clear on what objectives are. We've been as clear as you can possibly be from the very first night of what the objectives of this mission are. We're going to destroy their factories that make missiles and rockets and drones. We're going to destroy their Navy. We're going to destroy their Air Force. And we are going to significantly destroy their missile launchers so they can never hide behind these things to get a nuclear weapon. We are achieving all those objectives. We are ahead of schedule on most of them. And we can achieve them without any ground troops, without any. Now, in terms of why there's deployments, number one, the president has to be prepared for multiple contingencies, which I'm not going to discuss in the media. And again, I refer you to the Department of War, who will probably tell you the exact same thing. But we can achieve all of our objectives without ground troops, but we are always going to be prepared to give the president maximum optionality and maximum opportunity to adjust to contingencies should they emerge.
But even as Washington talks of a quick conclusion, the ground reality is becoming more volatile. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi forces are now signaling a potential escalation. The Houthis have outlined clear conditions under which they will formally enter the war, warning they will intervene if additional countries join the conflict against Iran. If the Red Sea is used for hostile operations targeting Iran or any Muslim nation, or if military escalation against Iran and what they call the resistance axis intensifies, they're making it clear if these red lines are crossed, the conflict could expand rapidly across the region. Let's take a look at what the Houthis have said.
نؤكد أن أيدينا على الزناد للتدخل العسكري المباشر في أي من الحالات الآتية. انضمام أي تحالفات أخرى مع أمريكا وإسرائيل ضد الجمهورية الإسلامية في إيران ومحور الجهاد والمقاومة. استخدام البحر الأحمر لتنفيذ عمليات عدائية من قبل أمريكا وإسرائيل ضد الجمهورية الإسلامية في إيران وضد أي بلد مسلم فلن نسمح بذلك.
Joining us live is Ambassador Bhashwati Mukherjee, former diplomat. We also have Mohammad Usman, Middle East expert, live with us. Pathikrit Pine, international affairs expert, is also joining us live. Matthew Vadum, American journalist, also is joining the broadcast. Ambassador Mukherjee, these latest statements and developments in the last 24 hours, do they indicate the conflict is nearing a conclusion or is still a while away?
In my perspective, and somebody asked me yesterday on a news TV channel as to whether I understand President Trump's thinking. So I said, I don't know whether President Trump himself understands his own thinking. So how can I make a decision on the way he thinks? But in my perspective, the signals are, it's calming down. He badly needs a face saver. I thought only Asians and Arabs need face savers. Now I see that even Goras for foreign guests is white people. Even Goras need face savers. This particular Gora, Trump, needs a face saver so that he can declare victory and move on. That's what he wants. Because he has understood that Venezuela and Iran are very different. Iran is a millennia-old civilization, like my Egyptian friend here, or myself, or the Chinese. We are millennia-old civilization. We don't get thrashed in 15 days and surrender. That's not the way we did it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have survived, Uday. Here in India, 188 years of brutal British colonial rule and emerged the way we are. We are millennia old civilization. So I think the war is calming down. I think all that he's saying about Cuba is a face saver. He is not getting into Cuba. Marco Rubio wants it because he's a Cuban dissident. He is not getting anywhere. He has understood because he said, people are saying my MAGA base is getting affected. That's not true. That shows his MAGA base is getting affected. He is going to lose the midterm. If he loses the midterm, he will get impeached. That's why he's backing off. In the meantime, we need to help him to find a face saver. We need to help him to back off because the Houthis, once they get activated, will cause as much devastation on their side as we have seen the Iranians causing devastation on the Straits of Hormuz. So, to answer your short question, Uday, I am hopeful that this is coming down and that we don't need any mediators here, including those who jump in without being invited.
Yes. But on ground, of course, the situation is a bit different. Mohammed Usman, we are seeing how, of course, statements now appear to be more conciliatory than they were perhaps a week ago. But on ground now with Yemen entering the conflict as well, is this spiraling further?
Thank you for the meeting. Yes, see that we are moving up the escalatory ladder, despite the conciliatory statements that you mentioned. I do concur with the Honorable Ambassador from that indeed President Trump might be searching for an off-ramp at this point before he gets entangled in another Middle Eastern quagmire for the long term. I do believe as well the Iranians are desperate to find a convenient end to this war. An off-ramp as well might allow them to walk out of this conflict, even though they have been devastated, but still they can claim some sort of victory. And I think this would be the commitment that both the United States and Iran can pursue in any potential diplomatic processes that might end up with a deal. And there is an American proposal on the table, a 15-point plan or a 15-point proposal for a potential settlement of the war. The Iranians find it to be a bit overbearing, or that they find it to be unfair at this point. However, it really depends whether this 15-point plan is being posed by the Americans as a framework for negotiations, or is it being proposed within the format of it being a take it or leave it deal? Because if that's the situation, I don't think that the Iranians will reciprocate positively with these American diplomatic overtures. And of course, there is the question of confidence and trust. President Trump and the US administration, this current administration in Israel, have attacked Iran twice in the midst of negotiation. This erodes any grounds for common trusts or common ground for future negotiations, unfortunately. And on the other hand, of course, there are serious questions that are being posed with regards to the President Trump's ultimatum, which was 48 hours at the beginning of when he first announced it, then extended to 5 days, now to 10 days. And if the ultimatum expires, he will go through with his threats to destroy Iran's energy infrastructure. Some are concerned that with the scale of movement and as well as the escalation by both Israel and the United States yesterday with the target of industrial infrastructure and some nuclear sites as well in Iraq and Yazid, that might be actually the Americans just buying time before taking another escalatory measure that maybe might entail ground operations, despite the denials by Secretary Rubio, it seems that the U.S. is moving considerable amphibious assets into the region. So unfortunately, even though there are diplomatic movements by countries like Egypt, Turkey, and Pakistan who are seeking to enact some sort of mediation, yet on the ground still, and despite the U.S. rhetoric, it seems that the United States and Israel on the one hand, on the other hand, Iran, are both taking escalatory measures along with other Iranian proxies,
You
the
know,
Houthis
and
jumping into the fray.
yes, and you know the Houthis, Patikrit Pine jumping in is what is also, raising the tensions and also the stress of those watching the oil prices, because this will mean further volatility in maritime routes as well if Yemen's Houthis get further active as they are now threatening to do. Maritime routes will suffer further. There will be greater volatility. Possibly this will help spiral energy costs further as well.
Uday, first of all, I have.
Mohammed, I'm coming back to you. That question is for Patikrit.
I have come across a lot of people. I've come across a lot of people with a very unique consensus on one thing. I mean, they have sympathy for Israel for its own security concerns, the way they have faced attacks by Hamas, Houthis, and Hezbollah. They even have sympathy for the Iranians for what they have endured and showed resilience. And at the same time, they have absolutely no sympathy for the Americans for what they're doing. This is a very unique situation. So, I don't think the Americans actually, in spite of all the AI they have used, I don't think they have anticipated the outcome to be as it is today. The Iranians have shown tremendous, resilience. I'm not trying to be taking bias or any side. I'm just saying as an objective analysis. Secondly, what they've done is that they have gone for horizontal escalation instead of a vertical escalation. They've targeted the Arab states, destroyed their critical energy infrastructures, which means even if the Strait of Hormuz gets opened up, the infrastructure repair will take a lot of time. So there is a perpetual energy crisis that is coming up. Secondly, choking of Bab el-Mandeb was a logical conclusion. The Houthis would have done it. The Houthis are known to be proxies of Iran, and they would have done it, which means, number one, the Strait of Hormuz, which chokes off the Gulf. Secondly, Bab el-Mandeb ensures that anything that comes via Suez Canal gets choked off. Now, what happens next is that Iranians are pressurizing the rest of the world who would suffer most because of this energy crisis to tell Americans that this is time to back off. The question is, you have reached a stalemate where no party can actually back off, because any kind of backing off would almost be synonymous like giving up. And that would be construed as perhaps a moral victory of the Iranians. The biggest shocking problem is that the Israelis and the Americans have different end objectives so far as this war is concerned. And I don't think they take each other into confidence while attacking. So far as the price of oil is concerned, I mean, it is a nightmare. No country can, anticipate or have reserves for if this war continues for a few months. And if you see the history of conflicts in Middle East, they tend to continue for years. Even when official conflicts end, attacks keep on happening. In case of Iraq, it happened for a decade. The end of Saddam Hussein did not result in end of the war. It led to the creation of ISIS. Same thing might happen here. Look at Syria, a problem which has remained unresolved. Look at Libya, a problem which has remained unresolved. So, frankly speaking, if you ask me, if I am a country looking for sourcing of oil from Middle East, Strait of Hormuz, Bab el-Mandeb, whatever, Middle East as a safe and a secure source of energy is gone for quite some time. It's gone. It's out. I mean, no country. There are countries, including India, taking oil. That is fine. But in the long-term calculation, one has to be very, very cautious as to what to do, because that entire stretch is so vulnerable that tomorrow, if there is a ceasefire, even if which is unlikely, Iran might use proxies, the Americans might use proxies, and the Israelis might keep on bombing. So where is peace? Even now, we are talking about a situation where the Arab states have not yet joined the war. Imagine when they get fed up with what the Iranians are doing on their infrastructure and then join the war. So it's not a binary war. It's not a war with two sides happening. It's a war. There are multiple sides, multiple end objective, multiple intentions. And then there is their intention of White House, which nobody knows what it is. I think the biggest challenge is not the war in Middle East. The biggest challenge is to sit in the White House when President Trump gives a press conference by it, and to sit there and clap and listen to that. I have never seen anybody, and I don't know whether today also he has repeated that India-Pakistan war thing. He has probably said about it 500 times, and nobody believes him. So we have been hearing about this war for the last 1 month that it is going to end tomorrow.
Okay.
Right? So there is no comparison between America's air superiority and with military
Yes.
with that of Iran.
Yes, Matthew,
But
let me
the
draw you
thing
in
is-
here. Matthew, let me draw you in here. Patikrit, hold that thought. Matthew, since you are, of course, in the US right now, I want to draw you in here on how this is being perceived in the United States of America. Are you getting a sense there that an end game is nearing as far as the US's goals are concerned, or the way out for them is concerned of this conflict? Or do you believe, that is something that would be too premature to say right now, given the fact that we are seeing on ground the strikes continue? We are also seeing on ground US troops and Marines movement continue as well.
Well, this war only started, February 28th. Today is March 28th. So it's only been going on 4 weeks. And I think the American people are patient enough to wait, but their patience is not infinite. And, their overriding concerns are not foreign policy, because Americans don't care about the rest of the world. And a lot of them say that with pride. We don't think about it. We're surrounded by 3 oceans, right? Atlantic, Pacific, and Arctic. Nobody invades the United States. We don't worry about other countries very much. If the pocketbook issues prevail, and if this war, which is crunching the world oil supply because of the problems in the Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Sea, Persian Gulf, continue to drive up the prices of fuel, that hurts the economy in general. It drives up the prices of everything, of consumer goods, and this hurts people. And American people, particularly voters, don't like wars in general, and they don't especially like prolonged wars. I think that they are skeptical of this war. I would not say there is strong opposition to it, except among Democrats and some independents. The Republican Party base is solidly behind President Trump, even though the MAGA, Make America Great Again movement, is about, not starting new wars. They've given President Trump a pass on this one, and they are supportive because they think the objective of crippling the Islamic Republic of Iran, the world's foremost sponsor of terrorism, is a worthwhile goal. I think that if this war continues, for months and months and months and drags on, then it is going to hurt President Trump at the polls in the midterm elections in November. But he may lose anyway, because traditionally the party in power, the party in the White House, loses control of Congress after the president in the election following the election or re-election of a president. So, it's a complex situation. And in terms of an end game, the United States, there's been a lot of chatter about what the purpose of the war is. But President Trump and Marco Rubio have said repeatedly that regime change is the ultimate goal of the war in Iran, and limiting its and eliminating its warfighting capability, its ability to develop nuclear weapons.
Yes. Interestingly, though, the rhetoric from Donald Trump has already been that, in a way, regime change has happened already, because he says most of the people who were ruling are dead. So, in a way, there is regime change if you have new people at the helm. Now, interestingly, that may mean another member of the Khamenei family, but technically, Donald Trump claims, of course, in his interpretation, that it is regime change because there's a new leadership in the various positions of Iran. So, in a way, that is an indicator that possibly that is also a tick mark for him in a goal achieved. Whether that goal has been achieved or not, that, of course, the jury will decide later. But yes, Ambassador Mukherjee, very quickly.
Right. I think
Ambassador Mukherjee coming back
That's
here.
just spin on Trump's part.
There is no regime change. The same regime continued in Venezuela. The same, even more hardline regime will continue in Iran because Trump did not allow the Iranian people to get rid of this hardline regime themselves. And moreover, Trump seems to be completely unaware that external assassinations, which could have happened during colonial times, is not possible under international law. He is in total violation of international law. But more than that, I would like to say that I don't agree that the entire MAGA base is behind him. I don't agree that all the Republicans agree with what he is doing. I believe that he is going to lose the midterms, and I also believe that he has dragged down the status of the United States as the foremost power, the country that upheld international law and built the Bretton Woods institutions and everything that mattered. Where is that United States now? So I believe that Trump
Right.
has led down America.
Okay.
Never mind what else he's done. He has led
Okay.
down the United States of America.
We've
Thank
run
you.
out of time. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. We're quickly switching